Next on the Beyond the Flags podcast is a driver from White City, Oregon. He runs the number 64 Friesen Performance IMCA Modified. Ray Kniffen Jr. is that driver, and he's here to discuss his amazing legacy of his family in racing, both on pavement and dirt, and why the number 64 was selected. Not only does it honor his late father, but also honors a legend in the Pacific Northwest who tragically lost his life in 1973 at Indianapolis. That's coming up next. But before we get to the interview, make sure wherever you're listening or watching from, you hit the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes. Well, Ray Kniffen Jr. joins us for the Beyond the Flags podcast. Ray, great to have you here. I know that your racing family is major, specifically in the Southern Oregon region of the state of the Beaver State of Oregon, but it's been great to get to know you over the last few years and also get to see you and some of your family members compete, not just at Southern Oregon Speedway, but some other racetracks.
Yes, thank you. We're definitely a racing family.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, I know you, and I know your brother Wayne. How did everything kind of just start out for you guys with racing? Obviously, your dad was a big influence.
Yes, Dad started racing back in the 50s at the Syracuse Mile and out east. Then we moved here when I was young, and he got into offset roadsters in Roseburg back in the 70s. And he had one of the first upright sprint cars on the asphalt here in Roseburg. So he ran for years on asphalt, and then they started doing both double duty. And he retired in '87, I believe.
Okay.
After he had a bad wreck. And then cue the boys. I have an older brother who's passed away since, but he raced in North Dakota at Nodak. He ran an IMCA stock car for years. And then, of course, my little brother. He's in Iowa now racing.
Yeah.
So, and I've been at it. This is my 25th year. So, we enjoy it.
Well, that I remember hearing, what was it? Your dad used to be called, was it the White Knight? That was his nickname?
Yep. That was my dad. Yep. He had a bounty on him at Roseburg on the asphalt for quite a while. I think he won like 7 or 9 in a row. So that was pretty cool. I was in the pits turning wrenches back in those days.
So in those days, was it just specifically, Douglas County Speedway up in Roseburg, or did you guys kind of bounce or like go to Shasta and Anderson, or maybe over on the coast at Redwood Acres or any of those places?
Yeah, we used to race Eureka at Redwood, and then we'd go to Anderson, and then we'd go to Roseburg, and then we ran Eugene.
Okay.
At the old fairgrounds. My favorite story about that is there was 22 cars in the main event, all in the mail, and all the power went off.
Oh, no.
And they all stopped within 3 feet of each other. It's amazing. That's car control.
Yes. I remember in 1995 that happened at Cottage Grove with the World of Outlaws, and I was, just in anticipation, just waiting to see just a mangled mess, and nope, everybody was where they're supposed to be. So
yeah, that's the ultimate car control.
Well,
to be able to stop at that speed.
And then you said he also did some dirt as well, because there was a time for maybe some listeners throughout the country on the West Coast, it was not an uncommon thing for you to race Eugene on Friday, Saturday guys, which would be pavement. Some guys would go to Cottage Grove, Willamette Speedway in Lebanon. Those were dirt tracks, or they would go to Douglas. And then sometimes Sunday, Coos Bay Speedway on the pavement would put on a show. So guys were racing 3 nights a week sometimes.
Yeah, then don't forget the old Posse grounds here in Medford.
Oh, yeah.
That was dirt. And my dad was a big influence in getting the sprint cars here to race a series. Blackbird was involved at that time.
Okay.
Dad collected all the travel sponsors and all that stuff to get the guys down here.
And what year was that about when the introduction of sprint cars was happening?
I think with Dad involved, I think it was like a 78, 79, 80.
Okay.
And then up to like 85, probably.
Okay,
It's been a day or two.
Yeah. I mean, 78, obviously the Outlaws started, but that kind of signified the teams were going to, it was an Outlaw sanctioned show at Dirt Cup for 78 and 79. And then they were going to Gold Cup in Chico, and it's just right on I-5. They were going that way anyways. So,
right.
And guys were starting to spread out a little bit and going to some different places.
Right. A lot of the guys that raced at the old Posse grounds when my dad was involved was from the PRA at Roseburg.
Okay.
And then some of the guys in Cottage Grove.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rick Brown, Greg Brown, Kevin Etchison, some of the older guys. Well, they're not. They were young then. They're old now.
Yeah.
So am I.
yeah, exactly. Age is just a number, right? So.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell everybody. I'm the old guy out here now. So.
Yeah. No, I just remember how amazing it was. Like my dad, worked on super stock cars, and they would do that little circuit. They'd race 3 nights a week, and then the big deal was going to Anderson at the end of the year. Was it the Shasta 100 or something? And there'd be like Jimmy Walker would be there, and Herschel McGriff. Dane Smith. Yep. Dane Smith was fast, and the guy, his sister was on Mary Tyler Moore. Donnie Harper.
Yeah, my dad sponsored those guys back in the day.
Okay. And then, like my dad said, like they'd have, like Bobby Allison or maybe Bill Elliott or come in. But one year, like Joe Ruttman showed up and he like lapped the whole field. Like he made it look super easy.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah. I mean, guys that would be like just creaming people at a big regional show weren't even making the feature. Just to put in perspective. So
yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So were you there for, this would have been late 70s, maybe early 80s, the Oregon Carpet Cleaning Exchange race that was?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah. Rick Singler, Reggie Ayers, Dane Smith, Donnie Harper, Jack Keckman. Who else? The brothers, Harlan Cohn. There's a bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah. I think Rick Corelli came out for that one. And then was it Odie Robertson that won it from Colorado?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And he was racing about a decade ago. Like he was still racing and he was still winning races, which was pretty incredible to see.
Yeah. Well, I was just watching a race on TV and a 78-year-old won a main event and one of the, it wasn't the Outlaws, but it was the late models.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
There's hope for me.
Age is just a number, right? Well, like the funny thing about the Carpet Exchange race is, like my dad said, like Oregon Hero, like had they were the title sponsor, and I want to think like the guy dressed up like in a Superman suit or something like that, and then. Something to do with, how race stuff was back in the day, a little bit carnival atmosphere. Well, like they didn't do the payout at the track. It was like at a Chinese restaurant.
Pizza parlor. Yeah.
Yep. And then somebody was lighting their envelope and then they said something about it. So it's just so incredible. Like that's not that long ago, like one generation removed, and to hear about something like that now is just like, holy smokes, that's wild. But that was maybe not common, but it wasn't uncommon.
No, and I kind of miss those days, if I'm being honest.
Sure, yeah.
We had a blast as kids too. That's why I'm a big proponent of trying to get the kids involved. So I do everything I can to get the kids' attentions.
Yes, yeah. I mean, just a super cool thing, too, is like my dad saying they'd be on the road or something. They would race somewhere, and they would, like, bend a spindle or something from whatever model, they like a Chevelle or something, and it's like, well, we know, so-and-so knows a guy that's got a wrecking yard, so they would go there in the middle of the night or, first thing in the morning, and they'd go to the wrecking yard and get it out and then, just swap it out and everything. I mean, it's just... there was a lot of, not to say that there's a lack of dedication, but just innovation in ways like that where everything, a lot of times, I'll just be blunt, it's manufactured and you just order it out of a catalog, or you go to, the track vendor. So
right. And back then, I think it was simpler times for sure.
Sure.
So, the money we're spending now is crazy compared to it. Of course, you go spend $5 on a spindle back in the day, and now they're $95.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Going back to you and your racing career, obviously your dad a big influence. When for you did you decide, was it your dad kind of approaching you since you were getting older, or was it something that you approached him of like, hey, I'd like to do something like this?
Well, what happened was, so when I was younger, I was 14.
Okay.
I raced street stocks at the old posse grounds for a year until the car got destroyed. And then I went in the military, and then I raised a family. And then my dad and my little brother were getting into the mini stocks, and we just got to talking. It's like, I don't want to run a mini stock. I'm a V8 guy. So we bought an old pro stock, and it just kind of morphed from there. That was in 99. And I bought my first A-Mod in 2001.
Okay.
It was an old Harris, and Dad was, he was at the helm. He was pointing us in the direction, teaching us how to do it the correct way. And it just kind of morphed from there. Unfortunately, I don't have any kids that are interested in the racing part of it, so it's probably going to stop with me on my side.
Well, and I was going to say, it was a big deal when all of a sudden the posse grounds gets closed down, and there was no racing there for a little bit. I know it was right around 96, Southern Oregon Speedway opened, and thank goodness has been going on strong for almost 30 years. But there was kind of a dark age there. I remember a lot of guys coming up to, Tom Glover, like almost ran like weekly at Cottage Grove, Mike Phillips, because they had no option.
Right, and also Wairika, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
Wairika was an option too. But I mean, just, there's so many teams based out of that Medford Central Point area. And then for it just to be gone, and thankfully, it bounced back, and I feel like it bounced back in a pretty big way.
Yeah. And Travis Hoppus and Snyder and the whole board, they're just doing incredible stuff down here. I'm doing everything I can to support this track. They're really all about fans and drivers.
Well, not to, not to bring up a bad thing, but 2020 there was no racing at Southern Oregon Speedway due to no crowds, and Jackson County being seemed like it was of the counties in Oregon was a little bit more stricter on crowd gatherings. Yeah. And it was very, very scary there for a moment. Like, man, here we go again in the 90s or so when we got no racing here, but they kind of swooped in and more or less rescued the place from when there was a big question mark of whether it was just going to be leveled and turned into an RV park or whatever.
Right. Yeah, they definitely saved the day for our racing here. They've like I said, the improvements they've done are incredible. So, and they just continue to keep improving everything.
Well, I was going to say they got a big project going on in turns 3 and 4 for folks to view from. That looks like it's going to be a pretty sweet deal when it's all said and done.
That's the new grassy knoll.
Okay.
Because they raised the track so high in 1 and 2, you can't see the track anymore from the old grassy knoll.
Mm-hmm.
So Travis and those guys came up with this, which will be pretty exciting when they're done.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be super cool to see what they do for the final touches. Obviously, they have championship night coming up this Saturday. For you, limited starts this year, but you managed to post 3 top 5s, including 2 fourth-place finishes. A really good run for you last week, finishing 4th. I mean, nothing nothing to be too ashamed about, because the amount, when you look at the quality of cars that still race at Southern Oregon Speedway for the Friesen Performance IMCA Modifieds, there's some fast guys there that go out and win big races on the road or go and make big shows across the country.
Yeah, I mean, so we set the track. We broke the track record this year in May, and so we're fast. It's just when the track goes super dry, we struggle a bit. So that's where we're really working hard. My crew chief Jason Kennedy and I, we spent I don't know how many hours this week trying to go through the car to find the speed. But if it's a heavy track or medium track, we got it covered. Mm-hmm. So if it goes dry, like I call it a pavement track,
sure,
we're in trouble. So we've worked really hard this week to see if we could figure it out. So we've been working all year and haven't hit anything yet. So we're hoping we get a decent, with some grip.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, well, and I don't have a crystal ball, but it's getting that time of the year where, there's a heavy dew in at night and in the morning. And, right. It tends to be a little bit cooler, and we're kind of out of the, knock on wood, we're out of the woods as far as the triple digit weather. Like, you guys get very hot weather down there. It almost, almost reminiscent of like Central Valley kind of Fresno area weather sometimes, just a dry heat.
Yeah, that's why they kind of canceled most stuff in July, and then it ended up being August this year when it got hot. So you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, so I mean, and I'm the only guy with an open motor. I went away from the crate when it blew up. So I got an awesome sponsor that's working really hard to get the open motor to be competitive. Rogue Race Engines, Jeff and Julie Barnes, they've done incredible things for our race program. So watch out for next year. We got the third motor coming out, and I think it's going to be really, really, really good on dry. So we're making headway, and I don't know if people believe it or not, but it's not a very big motor.
Are you looking to find that adrenaline rush, but you can't because you're not at the racetrack? Well, check out the IMCA TV Replay subscription library to have access to thousands of hours of racing for just $24.99 a month. Relive all the moments of the Speedway Motors IMCA Super Nationals fueled by Casey's at Boone Speedway, the Harris Clash at Deer Creek Speedway in Spring Valley, Minnesota, the IMCA TV Winter Nationals at Cocopah Speedway in Somerton, Arizona, Florida's Clash on the Coast, and dozens of Speedway Motors IMCA weekly racing program racetracks from across the nation, as well as the IMCA TV Dirtcast podcast. Plus, 25% of that $24.99 monthly fee goes towards the Drivers Point Fund and is a great way to help out your local racers. In 2023, over $97,000 was paid out to IMCA drivers directly at over 50 racetracks across the country. Please note that live broadcasts are not part of the replay subscription. That's IMCA TV. IMCA TV, where America comes to watch racing. Well, number 64. Tell me the background of why you selected that number.
Well, that's my dad's number, for one. That's what he ran for his career. Other than he had a car number 77 back in the 50s, but he went to 64. Mm-hmm. After Art Pollard. Okay. My dad and Art Pollard were teammates in Meridian, Idaho.
Okay.
They raced for the Jukebox Baby race team, and his Art Pollard's number was 64. And then when Art died in Indy, Dad took the number and ran with it, and we've kind of kept it in the family since.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, Dad really looked up to Art, so I never got to meet him, unfortunately, but from the stories I heard, he was an incredible guy.
Well, and when that time at Meridian Speedway, was that for like a super modified race, or what exactly was he teammates with?
Yeah, that's what they called them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
They, super modifieds, offset modified, whatever, just the terminology wherever you're at.
Crazy fast cars and crazy engine sizes too. Yep.
It was, I wish I could have seen it. It would have been interesting.
Yeah. They still They still run them. They're, I think, for Diamond Cup weekend, and it's definitely a sight to behold. It's like, my goodness, I could only imagine like 30 of these things going around.
Yeah, pretty crazy. They used to run them at Roseburg too, but they won't be running them on the dirt anymore.
No, it'd be like a drags, the drag Top Fuel dragsters when they go and do their burnout on the slick spot or on the wet spot. So
yep, exactly. No, but that's where the 64 come from, and okay. I'm a junior. I'm named after my dad, so I just carried on the number.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. That's really awesome that you guys are able to obviously carry your father's legacy, but also Art Pollard's legacy as well, who is a big icon in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. So, and then of course my brother's number is 84. That's the year he started racing. So that's where he got his number. But yeah, that's where the 64 comes from.
Nice. White City, right? It's just it's one of the first kind of towns you get to in the Rogue River Valley when you're headed north, just right next to the Table Rocks. And for people that have never been there, what are some cool things for them to kind of do, or maybe there's some good restaurants in the area?
Oh, there's so much to do around here. If you like salmon steelhead fishing, you just go up Shady Cove to some of the guides up there. They'll get you on fish. There's Crater Lake. It's not too far away. There's a lake any direction within 45 minutes to an hour for fishing, water sports, just to enjoy the scenery. Restaurants, we have so many.
Sure.
It just keeps getting bigger.
There's like 2 Chick-fil-A's in Medford, which is wild. Or they were building one last time I was rolling through there last winter.
Yeah, it's done.
Okay.
Both of them are done. We got, I'm just trying to think. There's so many restaurants, so many good restaurants. Anything you want is here. And it's just growing so fast.
Yeah.
We live in White City, and we have 2.5 acres that we're developing now. So that's what we're also in the middle of as far as with racing. So it's just everything's just growing so fast.
And a lot of people, they think Southern Oregon Speedway, in Medford. Well, I learned this lesson when I first started to drive on my own when I was, 17, 16 years old. And I remember it's like, man, I don't know where to go. So I stopped like on 62, kind of by Lava Lanes maybe, in like a 7-Eleven. Hey, where's the racetrack in Medford? They're like, there's no racetrack in Medford. Well, fun fact, it's in White City. It's in a nice little tucked away area right next to a little hill there, and it's just great. That whole area. I mean, there's a drag strip. There's a like a little road course where they do drifting and speedway karts. Yep. And all sorts of cool stuff.
And they got the motocross track in now.
Oh yeah,
by the Speedway.
541 Moto. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So and then we got a couple of firing gun ranges and stuff there. So it's a sports park.
Exactly. Well, I remember one time, I don't know what time of the year it was, but I'll definitely sort of date it, is they were having a shooting contest at the drag strip and there was a ricochet that went up into the hill, and obviously dry grass, dry heat and everything.
Yep.
And
caught fire.
Caught fire. You might have been there. I know it was I was there for a race, and like there was helicopters hovering around, dumping buckets of water, and then there's like guys were bringing in like, it looked like excavators, like they were getting ready to evacuate us out of the deal. We hadn't even started the race, but it's definitely one of the most wilder times that I've had at Southern Oregon Speedway. That was, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago or so.
Yeah, something like that. Fortunately, we have a lot of ponds around there they could pull water from.
Yeah, and I think the fire station wasn't that far away either, so that kind of
couple miles.
Yeah. So, no, it's definitely cool, and also it was really cool to see. I know it's been a few years, but 2020. Around this time of the year, the whole Southern Oregon community was really just literally in a bad spot with with those wildfires that broke out and, the town of Phoenix and stuff. It had to be definitely a scary time for you and your family, but it was so awesome to see people outside of the area just kind of, checking in on racing folks and folks down there to make sure, hey, do you need anything, or, are you okay kind of deal too.
Yeah. Well, that people don't realize how we might argue and holler at each other on Saturdays, but how close the racing community really is. If somebody's down, we all pull together to help them, lift them up.
Sure.
So I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like during those big fires and stuff, I had my tow rig. I can carry, 135 gallons on board of diesel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hooked up to a horse trailer hauling animals out during the fire.
Yeah.
And, I went through like 700 gallons of diesel.
Wow.
But everybody worked together, and there's a lot of other racers helping out that were local around here, and it was good to see.
It is. And I've unfortunately been down there, and obviously you've had to live through it. Like when there's smoke and when there's fires in the neighboring area, the Rogue River Valley, it's tough. It's just kind of in a bowl, and it's like a smoggy haze, and it doesn't really lift, and it can be miserable. And it also ups the temperature a couple degrees too.
It does. It makes it miserable. Anybody with breathing problems don't want to be here during that time.
Yeah. I mean, Mount McLaughlin is in the sight just off of turn 1. Like, it's just beautiful to see. Like, there's been times being there, even when you couldn't even look dead north and see the Table Rocks and everything, that it's, but I gotta say though, like that part of Medford, White City, where you live, my favorite part of going to announce a race. Sometimes it's triple digit weather. Sometimes it's almost in the 100 and teens. It's, it can be miserable and it can be, sticky hot, but just seeing the sunsets that you guys get is just, it's postcard quality for sure.
Yeah. We just had an awesome one tonight. Since you mentioned it, it was pretty awesome. Bunch of colors in the sky with the harvest moon and all that stuff going on.
For sure.
So we live in a really nice spot for sure.
No doubt. Well, it's always great to get a chance to catch up and talk with you about racing. I know that you mentioned several times there's been some key people to help you along the way and make sure that your guys' season is going in the right direction or the best direction it can. But I'd like to give you the floor you can thank them again, but also I know that you've got some great people that are also sponsoring your race car too. Yeah.
So I run a 2018 GRT, and I got it from Dragger Performance up in Albany. Matthew and the Dragger family are incredible to deal with. So I want to shout out to them for all their help. Of course, can't do this without, your spouse, my wife, Debbie. She puts up with a lot for 25 years. I couldn't do it without her support. And then, of course, my crew chief, Jason Kennedy, he's been my crew chief for 17 years. So we click pretty well. And then I have a pretty big crew that comes every other weekend. We have like 3 to 5 guys: Jeff, Greg, Bryce, Mike, and Ryan. And then the key sponsors for my race team is Bridges Automotive. Ryan and Tammy help us out in all facets of the racing, whether it's tow rig, race car parts, just moral support. They've been awesome. And then, as I said before, Rogue Race Engines. Without Jeff and Julie Barnes, we wouldn't be racing this year. They've sponsored our motor for the last 3 years, so that's pretty incredible. And then 20 Motorsports, Chris and Tina Biggs, they chip in to help us buy tires and fuel and stuff. Madhouse Graphics, Greg and Shelley Luber, they do all of our shirts, hats, and embroidery work. And then John Trencher, JT Chassis and Design, he helps us through the year with parts, pieces, and setup. And then one really important one is Bear for Life, Teen Suicide Prevention. That's really important. I have a friend that he lost his son, so we put that on the car every year to kind of bring it to light. Midnight Graphics, they do the awesome wraps and trinkets for my race car. I don't know if you've seen it this year or not, but it was pretty incredible. I'd like to thank Speed Union TV for they give us free subscriptions to the people that can't make it anymore because they're elderly or not able to make it. And then Bob and Diane Rose, who are my oldest sponsors of 25 years. He's more like a brother than a sponsor, but he helps us out in all kinds of ways. And that's pretty much it. Other than, I got my grandkids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's great. And of course, you mentioned it earlier. We definitely thank you for your service to this country, and it's definitely appreciated.
Well, yeah, it's I come from a military family, so my dad, my brothers, and everybody. My older brother was retired out of the Air Force, so, and then all my uncles, they're all military. So
awesome. Well, like I said, it's always great and always a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully we'll be bumping into each other here real soon, and hopefully championship night goes good for you and you guys in 2024 on a really good note.
Yeah, 1 point. We're 1 point out. So it's been a pretty good year.
Well, race fans, that does it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it. And we hope that you continue to enjoy these upcoming interviews. We appreciate it if you would like and subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever it's at. Give us a like and give us a subscription so that we can deliver more of these great interviews to you for your listening pleasure. In the meantime, wherever we're at, wherever you're listening, we hope you have a great rest of your day and a pleasant evening, and we will see you soon here at Highside Racing Promotions.